What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Bland back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. And my God, it feels good to say that again after a few months break hiatus. We are back at the Shop Podcast. So I know this is going to be a bit of a transition. New day, new time. Sundays, obviously 3 p.m. 3 p.m. AZ, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, man. But it feels good to be back, man. So I appreciate everybody who does come check out the show, retweet the link, let everybody know. I understand it's going to be a transition, so it's going to take a few weeks for people to get used to the new day, new time as well. But shout out to all you guys. I feel good being back. Feels good to be back in the driver's seat. What's up, everybody? What's up, Poison? Man, we got some great guests. Got a lot to talk about. I came back on a good week. We brought the show back on a good week. Good here to be back with my brothers, my cousin Mav in the house. But we'll get started. We'll get to the pleasantries, man. Like I said, we got to get back into the swing of things. So we're going to start with you, Mav. Glad to see you, brother. You know, first show back, I had to reach out to you, Mav. It's only right. It's only proper that I reach out and shoot up the bat signal. But how you been, brother? Feels good to be back.
Yeah, man. It feels great to see you back. It's been a hole in the community without having shop podcasts. You used to be on Saturdays, but I like the new home here on Sundays. I think it's going to work out good for you. And I'm excited to be here today, dude. Lots to talk about. There is we had the state of play, we got new games dropping, you got previews that have been out there, and we're just getting rolling for this year. So it's good to see you back, PTK. Been too long, and also with my bros Pong and Fuzzy as well. Always a great time.
Appreciate you. And once again, guys, you know what Mav do. You know where Mav is at. Go follow, go show some support. All that information is down in the description below. Always great to have you, Mav. Like I said, I had to shoot you a invite on the first show back, brother. It was only appropriate, man, that we have you on the show today. And like I said, it's a great fucking week to be back, to bring the show back. Like you said, we got a lot of good shit to talk about, so we're going to get into it. But I got to get to my brothers. Man. These gentlemen been rocking with me, ups and downs. It's been a bit of a roller coaster here lately, but we are back, man, and it feels fucking good, man. So introducing Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, my brother. Shout out to you, man. How you been, man? It feels good to be back, man. A little different day, but we here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's awesome to be back, man. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And, man, it's been a great time for gaming just in general, but so glad to be here with you guys. We got Mav on here tonight. Glad to be chopping it up with you and Pong. Yeah, it's going to be a good night. And hey, I'm trying my best to get through Avowed. I'm not speeding through it, but man, oh man, I'm loving it. But we'll get into it. But man, it's so awesome to be here with you guys tonight.
Yeah, shout out to you too, man. You've been doing your thing, man. I've been checking out the podcast, the Scary Podcast, the Fright Show. All that good stuff, man. You've been doing a big thing. But you guys know, man, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, the smooth one, man. Go check him out. All of a sudden, all that information down in the description below as well, too, man. So let me throw this over to my brother, my other partner here at the Shop Podcast, Mr. Pong. So it feels good to be back, Pong. It's been a while, brother.
It's weird, man. It's light outside, which is strange. We're on the Lord's Day now, which is also weird. Like I told you guys in the background, I normally am meal prepping, starting meal prep right around this time, so I had to kind of switch the schedule up. But nah, man, this is this is special to be back. You guys know what the podcasts mean to me. Again, they're definitely a part of my weekly kind of break from reality, just like video games are, and getting to join with my brothers from another who all love gaming as much as I do and talk. And I've been missing, obviously, you, PTK Blam, and Fuzzy, and not getting together on Saturday nights. So this is awesome to be back. Like you said, it's going to be a transition period for a lot of people, but we'll spread the word, and anybody can help us spread the word as well. Let everybody know the shop is back. It just so happens to be on Sundays at this time. So, but we are back, and what a week. Lots of gaming news, lots of gaming going on. I can't believe how many people are actually playing Avowed before me, which is absolutely insane, bro. I almost gave in to the FOMO yesterday. I had it up in the shop, and I was going to do it, and I'm like, no. I can wait till Tuesday. I waited this long. I don't need to get it. Budget first. Gotta do it. Gotta hold out. But yeah, Steel's kicking ass in Avowed right now.
I saw that, dude. I've been watching
Steel freaking Rain. We're gonna talk about, but Steel freaking Rain is playing first person Like
What?
that dude, yes, he's clipping.
Wasn't
He's
still
clipping.
cold
He's
on this game?
battling.
He was cold on Avowed, wasn't
Bro, he was until they had third person, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, well, now I might play it because of the third person, because that's how he does not like first person battling, right? He does not like it, and so he was like, "Oh, third person, maybe I'll try it out." But then he was getting busy, and he started Final Fantasy 16. He's like, "I don't know, man, I got Final Fantasy 16," but then he trailed off Final Fantasy 16, so he decided to go early access, and he's actually liking the first person combat. That shows you, because that dude is picky, how much work they did to get it feel good. So I can't wait to jump into that. But I've been playing a bunch of stuff. But my sale of the week, and yes, I will bring back the sale of the week, is Warriors Abyss. I have been talking about this game. This is the Shadow Drop
looked
game.
that game up, bro. I literally just
Yes.
like 20 minutes before the show, half an hour before the show, I literally just watched the trailer because I was going through what was shown again. I had to review what was shown again at the State of Play because all I did was watch all the trailers. And I was like, wait a minute, why I feel like I missed this game? And I watched the trailer, I'm like, what the like, this is right up my alley.
Yes, it is, sir. It is. It's freaking dropped out of the blue. Again, I was at work minding my own business, watching Mavs co-stream, and all of a sudden I heard Omega Force, and I know who Omega Force is. Again, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Warriors Orochi. My Musu love is well known. I love Musu fighters, and I was like, wait. They just dropped Dynasty Warriors Origins. What the hell is Omega Force doing here? And then the first clip is this isometric view looking. I'm like, excuse me?
Goodness.
And then they're like, out today after the show, and I was like, what? I went home and I looked it up. $25. I was like, I told myself, because I didn't buy Avowed early access, I was like, well, let's get Warriors Abyss. That's the $25 you save from not getting Avowed early access. So I picked up Warriors Abyss, and I've been playing that amongst other things, but really, Warriors Abyss is freaking fantastic. It is a roguelite version of Dynasty Warriors with all the characters. You got unique weapons. It is much deeper than what you think it is up front. It is a very deep roguelite. Some people claim it's easy. Maybe I just suck, but it ain't easy for me at all. It's extremely challenging. The bosses are extremely challenging, but there is a lot of strategy and depth to this game when you get into it, the different combinations, because your relationships with the other characters that you bring into your group also can give you bonuses. You can get bonuses off finding unique weapons, which are ultra rare in the treasure chest. There are bonuses for depending on how many of each element character that you are carrying in your group. There is all sorts of cool stuff along with your typical roguelite type of luck to each run, which is a fantastic loop. But you can pick up treasures, you can gain gems, blood gems, and also these blue flames, which you can use to purchase different items within the game during your run, or you can also use the blue flames to open up more characters because they got a huge giant grid. As anybody who knows on any Musu fighter from Omega Force, they've got like 100 plus characters usually in those games. This is no different, and you can open those up along with some other things that you need. But this game is awesome. The addiction to that roguelite loop, if you like that, this is it for you. For $25, you could do a whole lot worse than picking up Warriors Abyss right now. Great game, lots of fun. Again, lots more depth than some people give it credit for, or if at first glance you look at it and you don't think it is. But when you get into it and start planning your runs out, there's a lot here to like. So I'm having a blast with this game, and so that's my selling of the game this week,
Nice.
Warriors Abyss. Yep.
Go check it out. Go check it out. And I was worried when I saw that it wasn't on Xbox. I immediately typed in Warriors Abyss Xbox and was glad to be met by a trailer
Everywhere.
from Xbox. So yeah. So
yes, sir.
Awesome game. Go check it out. You already know we got to do that, man. But we got a lot to talk about. It's a big week. Shout out to everybody coming through. Like I said, I know it's going to be a bit of a transition. So you guys got to help us out a little bit. Let everybody know. Retweet the link. Go ahead and put it on your feed. Let everybody know we are live here. New day, new time. But the same awesome ass show, man. We are back and it feels hella good to be back. So let's get into it, man. We're going to start with this PlayStation Sony State of Play that happened a few days ago, man. I haven't obviously gotten a chance to talk about it, especially on a full-blown podcast since it's being the first back. And I am wanting to dive into this so much. I've watched all you guys' opinions all week pretty much. But getting it on the show is going to be awesome. And we'd love to hear from you guys too in chat what you guys thought about the show. But I want to dive into this a little bit, right? So Obviously, the showcases came and went, and it's been marinating a little while. And I just want to get you guys general thoughts. So we'll start with you, Mav. First and foremost, the general feedback from the show, from my perspective, Mav, was a bit of a mixed bag again for PlayStation, which is concerning depending on your perspective, right? Depending on how you see PlayStation going forward, the roadmap or lack of, I should say, like that is a bit concerning for depending on how you look at it. So looking at what we saw, there was a ton of games. Now I saw you make this point, and shout out to you. I'm actually gonna steal this shit from you while you're here, man. While you're here, right in front of your face, I'm gonna steal this from you. As a game show, there was a lot to see. So I'm not gonna sit up here and act like there was a ton of variety. There was a ton of games to see. If you're a gamer, and I'm not, we gonna leave that broad, but if you're a gamer, there was a lot to see. But for a PlayStation showcase based on what they could be doing versus the expectations of the expectations of the PlayStation fan base, it wasn't a very good show. It didn't really hit the mark. So where are you at after obviously a few days marinating? Anything changed for you, or you still where you're at on it?
I mean, I'm the same where I'm at. Like, I think really state of play in general just kind of revealed what the state of PlayStation is, right? And we've already all kind of speculated and talked about all this, and we've had more news about more cancellations and games of service games getting either canceled or other potential delays and all these other kind of things. So we knew that the first party lineup was kind of in some level of turmoil for a while. We knew that they were doing second and kind of third party deals to kind of hopefully bolster their lineup, but usually, we know more about what's coming for the year for the platform by this time.
Mhm.
And there was a couple games that they have said in the past were supposed to be 2025 that were absent. And that's kind of been more of the glaring thing for me. So if you say like you're watching the show and there's a lot of things, a lot of games for gamers,
Yeah.
I agree 100%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you
That's
can
a
get
bit of
that
a
at
loaded quote though, right? Like
right.
there's some context to that.
That you can get that at a Keeley show, you can get that at
Yeah.
a future game showcase, you can get that at a Gamescom type thing, you can get it at several different things, right? But there's always something to having a first party show, right? That's the point of doing these things like a developer direct. The Xbox has a summer showcase, which
Mhm.
they get, they have a lot to show there. Plus, they also
Nintendo
still
has
are
their
able to do the
direct.
other things. The Nintendo does their directs, and they have a lot of first party there, unless they state otherwise clearly, right?
Mhm.
Beforehand. And even PlayStation in the past, when they've done third party shows, they've said, hey, this is a third party state of play showcasing games from our third party partners, or this is a show state for smaller titles in indie games and all that kind of stuff. Like Xbox has ID at Xbox as well, so we know what to
Yeah.
expect from that. We're not expecting a bunch of huge first party titles or even a couple of first party big games going to show up or anything. But for the PlayStation, the kind of how they presented this was like this was one of their longer shows, right? 40, I think it was like 45 minutes, which is long for them over the last several years for their state of plays. And saying that this is going to be a show to showcase what's coming to PlayStation 5 in 2025. Is kind of how they presented it.
Mhm.
So for that, it fell flat for me as a PlayStation show.
I can't deny it. The time to me was an early indication that it was. I just assumed that it was going to be far more robust from a PlayStation standpoint when I saw 40 plus minutes, because like you said, that's not traditionally state of plays. They're usually about what, half an hour give or take, right?
Yeah, I mean even
So
20 something minutes
yeah,
at
even
times. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, you're right. I thought my expectations were a little bit more. I would say that didn't contribute, and they didn't really come out and like really quell anybody's expectations either by saying, "Oh no, it's going to be this or that." They kind of just put it out there, So I don't
yeah.
know what, So people's expectations were kind of where they're at.
Yeah, and like if you're just watching this, like, hey, I don't care about a reason to feel like I need to dive into PlayStation. Just watching this for games. Yeah, there's great. Almost every single game here was everywhere. So there's plenty of games here that I'm interested in for sure. The one that Pong's talking about, I'm going to get at some point here. Warriors Abyss.
Okay. I was
And
gonna ask you too. You got top 3 games out of the show? What would
oh
be the
man,
top 3 games for
Mind's Eye
you? Okay.
was one. I'm really curious about what was it called? Charon? I can't remember the name of
Yes.
the first party one that they revealed at the end
Sorrows?
from Saros. Yeah,
The one House
Saros
Mark?
from House Mark game.
Mhm.
Just because I know what that studio it was capable of with Returnal, I thought that was a solid, fun game. I'm curious to see what they do with the next thing, right? And besides that, I'll say, I thought Borderlands 4 gameplay looked really good.
Mm.
Um, overall there was, like I said, there was stuff to see. We saw a lot of games here that we've seen before. We saw first kind of either release dates now, or we saw um gameplay first looks and stuff like that. So just as a gamer in general, I thought it was a pretty good show. I wouldn't say it was like, oh my god, amazing or anything. It was like I gave it a 7. At first I gave it an 8, and then after going back through and seeing everything, like there wasn't anything that just looked like, oh my god,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's crazy. I have to play that. So I lowered it to a 7.
Mhm.
But yeah, expectations wise right now is strange for PlayStation.
Mhm.
Because, like, me and Pong talked about this on Thursday. He's like, "Well, what is anybody expecting?" Well, like, yeah, I agree, you know? I was hoping they would surprise me and, like, prove me wrong or something, you know? I was
Exactly.
hoping they would say, like,
That
"Oh, we have this other thing for this year. Hey, we did this deal for this other game or that nobody knew about." Like, Xbox did that with Ninja Gaiden for this
Mhm.
year, you know what
Yep.
I mean? At Dev Direct. Or they had something else in their back pocket that was gonna be
Mhm.
like, "Holy crap, wow, man, that makes me really wanna get a PlayStation again," you know? Or, some more excitement or hope for another big game at least that they announced for 2026 besides just, the, other one that they announced at the end, you know? Like, that one's fine and that's cool and all, but, without gameplay, without a lot of information on it and a lot of other just one more game to add to 2026. It just looks like the state of the first party may actually be worse than I even had speculated on,
Yeah. Yeah.
which for me is like the more alarming thing. Like I even in the back of my mind, I'm like, they got some things that they're gonna surprise
Mhm.
everybody with, and they're gonna come out there and they're gonna like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I see, but there's
Are
still
we at this
time
point
for
to
this
where now,
year, I
Mav?
guess. I don't know.
Are we at this point to where now that we shouldn't feel that way? Like, so should that Sony benefit of the doubt? Should we start to? Because this is not a like just now thing, man. We really the last about what 2-3 years. This has been pretty status quo for PlayStation, right? They've
100%.
kind of been going through the motions, and this may just be their generation to have that, right? Because the industry fluctuates up and down, up and down. All the big three kind of go through it at some point. It's just part of the cycle. Maybe this is just their part of the cycle, but you're right. It's absolutely alarming when you look at. We just don't know what the hell they're doing and what their plan is. We do know they don't want to do live service stuff. that's the one thing we do know is they've thrown all of that out of the window. But like, okay, now that that's over, where do you go from here? And its state of play didn't really. It just showed a lot of stuff, but it didn't really clear up their roadmap. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's like, Xbox's bad year was 2022, right?
Mhm.
Where they
First
had like
party,
a
right? There was
lack of
no
first
first party.
right, lack of
Yeah.
first party titles. They had some deals with some games that were exclusive. They had some smaller first party titles, right? Um, and for PlayStation, it's really been 2024 and looks like it's going to be 2025 as well. But 2024, people give them a pass because of Astrobot,
Astrobot.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, hey,
Helldivers
but
2
what do you
helped.
mean they're struggling? They had the game of the year or Helldivers 2, which was
Mm-hmm.
was on PC early in the year, which was a huge hit. So I can't deny that stuff. Plus, also they had deals with Konami to bring
Yep.
back
Stellar
Silent Hill
Blade.
2,
I think
and they yeah
Stellar
they had
Blade.
they had Stellar Blade was exclusive. They had um
Black Myth
what
Wukong,
yeah,
technically.
Black Myth Wukong. They had sorry, I'm missing one off
Was
the
it
top of
Rise
my
of the
head.
Ronin?
Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. Yes, sir. So they had all these things, right? Early in the year they had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you know? And for their fans looking at it from a PlayStation, they're like, "Okay, I'm justified with my PlayStation 5 purchase because this is the only place I can play those games and all that kind of stuff, right? But even that this year, there like for this state of play, there was like nothing for that, right? So I look at all the conversation that's been going like, why does anybody need an Xbox? Why does anybody need an Xbox? Why does anybody need an Xbox? Right. And I'm like, well, if you look at the state of PlayStation and where they're at and all the games that they have for uh reasons to need a PlayStation like that, I was hoping to see this show and be like, okay, yeah, they got me with that one, or yeah, they got me with that one. But there was just nothing there that I can't play
Mm-hmm.
on Xbox or PC that I'm looking forward to. So maybe next year will be the year. Ghost of Yote, I was surprised didn't have some kind
Wasn't
of
there at all.
showing here.
Yeah, very
Um,
surprising.
yeah, so with
No
that
fair
missing,
games.
with fair games being
Mhm.
gone, you know, the games that I expected to be here from them, I expected maybe that possibly the Venom expansion from Insomniac that was part of the leaks. You know, they canceled the other DLCs, but I was wondering if that Venom spinoff was going to show up, and that was going to be a surprise. You know, Insomniac usually finds a way to surprise and deliver for people. There's no other look at Wolverine or anything like that. Like, I mean, there's nothing surprising or
Mhm.
exciting about like, wow, you know, it's really cool. And I think as a first party show case, like they failed to really deliver that a lot last couple years.
Yeah.
And Xbox keeps delivering it time and time again at every time we see a show, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
I that's what I judge it for. If you're an Xbox, if you're PlayStation, you're Nintendo, and you're putting on a show and you're showcasing the games coming out for this year, which this will maybe be the longest dev direct or state of play of PlayStation this year. That it'll probably be the longest one. They might have one later in the fall that could be close to it. I'm not sure. Maybe that one will be the one where they have some surprises, you know. But if you're one of these first party platform holders, yeah, usually you show up to watch these things to hopefully see, you know, Xbox games, Nintendo games, PlayStation games. And for PlayStation fans, there wasn't really any PlayStation games, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah. No, and we got to be honest about that too. And this is not this show. Once again, we're talking about the state of play here. Obviously, we got to get into the details, and I just think this is more. And as you pointed it out, man, kind of an overarching idea of like where PlayStation is at. It's just the truth of the matter. You know, like you said, the show was great. There was a lot to see there, a lot of meat on the bone. I don't think I heard one person say that there was nothing to see at the show, but I did see a lot of people from a first party standpoint say, "Hey, this wasn't really it." You know what I mean? We didn't really get a lot of anything. And like you said, there was even the stuff that we suspected just would have made sense to be there. Ghost of Yotai, Fair Games, we hear those are delayed, or at least, you know, Fair Games has been pushed with no sign of Ghost of Yotai at all as well. So that is a bit of a odd position for PlayStation and Sony to be in at this point, man. It's going forward. So let me throw this over to you, Pong. I know you guys talked about this Thursday. You guys talked about it Friday as well, too. So just obviously talking about where your thoughts at as far as the entire show, and then maybe a couple top 3 games coming out of the show.
Yeah, I thought the show was good to great, based
Okay.
upon what they told us it was going to be.
Mhm.
Again, I'm not looking for PlayStation to sell me anything, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think PlayStation's looking to sell anybody anything either. PlayStation is in control of their destiny. They again are in the in-between mode between Nintendo and Xbox. This is now the position they find themselves in the high-end market, as they created during the ABK acquisition. And they are alone, and they're one of the cool kids. So when you've got numbers like shipping 75 million, and again, I say shipping, probably sold probably 68 million units. When you have your now head of PlayStation and main man in Sony, Hiroki Totoki, coming out saying we were surprised by how many console sales we had this time around. They don't have to do shit. They don't have to do anything. They're in control. So again, why people are expecting anything, I don't know. That was the question I had for Mav. In reality, they don't have no. There's no even they don't need a roadmap, because their hardcore fan base defends them at every turn and says it's fine. The casuals, the mass market that they have a large portion of, for their fan base, doesn't buy most of those games anyways. They buy the Maddens, they buy the Call of Duties, they buy the 2Ks. That's what they buy on a yearly basis. They don't care about Ghost of Yotai. They don't care about Astrobot. They don't care about any of that stuff. So they're not looking for it. So when your main base, your enthusiast base is extremely happy and moves the goalpost for you at every turn, you don't have to do anything anymore. Because again, the people like Mav saying, hey, you got to sell me on why I should own a PlayStation, those are few and far between. They know they've got GTA 6 coming out, which is going to move everybody from the PlayStation 4 and a portion of the Xbox One people that are still holding on to the PlayStation 5. They know this. There is no lose for them here. So they damaged their first-party output dramatically by coming up with the games as a service, Jim's initiative, by Herman Hulst's very bad, poor mismanagement and decision making that cost them a whole lot of money, a whole lot of time, and just in general, a whole lot of resources with the talent that they wasted on that initiative to try to put out some games. So they are behind. Everybody fucking knows this now. Everybody who's us, the enthusiasts in this industry, knew exactly that this was the spot they were going to be in when you started hearing cancellation after cancellation after cancellation. And then, obviously the amounts of money that were being poured out. We knew they have a large swath of studios and devs that are starting new projects within the past year or even later right now that we're not going to see for 3, 4, 5, 6 years out. Now, they do have some in the cooker, obviously, just like we used to talk about with Xbox, right? Yeah. When we used to say, well, you guys could say that Xbox got no games, but again, stop acting like their studios aren't making games. They're freaking making games. Sony's studios are making freaking games, right? They're not sitting back, kicking back, with their feet up on the desk, not doing shit. They are. They're making games. It's just that they have this huge hole now in which Jim thought they were going to have. Again, I got to remind everybody, the numbers here. Jim said 10 to 12 games as a service in the next 4 years. That's 2.5 to 3 games per year Jim was expecting to be able to add to the Ghosts of Yotai, to the Astrobots, to all of these one kind of singular year, 1 or 2 releases each year outside of the third-party deals, and publishing deals. He had this all planned out. That's all evaporated. That is completely gone now. Now we hear that Fair Games is now 2026. So even some of the stuff that is left is getting pushed and moved. So they have this massive hole. So this is what their shows are going to look like. The fact that they even gave a tease for Saros at the end, I thought was cool, right? I think that's good. Housemarque is not a Naughty Dog. It's not going to be a 10 million plus selling game unless they come out and blow everybody out of the water. It's going to be along the lines of Returnal. I think Returnal wound up, I think they're at 3 million, I want to say, 3.5 million, something like that.
They did very well.
They did very good for what type of game. Again, what I'm saying is they're not one of their big games, but they are a known commodity for the PlayStation fans. And they did come out and tease their new game along with, obviously another remaster, which again, with a $10 upgrade fee, I don't have a problem in Days Gone, them doing that. We knew that was going to happen. Yeah. People can poo-poo it, but again, $10 upgrade fee. They're not charging you full price for another version of it. They're adding a ton of content and modes. I'm cool with it. So again, my overall point here is when I came into the show, I'm not looking for Sony to sell me anything anymore, right? I'm not. We're mid to past mid-gen now. That's all done. The rest of the leftovers are going to come over with GTA 6 for the most part, and when some of the other games start going and leaving last gen behind. You're going to carry everybody over. Sony knows where the vast majority of those people are going to go. Okay? They just do. That's a sad part. That's a sad reality right now, but they know it because Xbox threw up the white flag. They're a third-party publisher now. They're still producing their hardware, but we know from the numbers that the Series X and S, they're not out there. They're not producing them in mass quantities. They're not trying to push them anymore. So it is what it is right now. So for me, I come into the show and they say, hey, we're going to focus on our worldwide partners. That's what I came into the show expecting. It's going to be another state of play where they focused on the third parties. And as we also know with this industry right now, it has evolved to the point where third parties are making less and less exclusivity deals. The old Sony showcases and state of plays where they'd show up with third parties, and after every third party, there'd be that blip at the end, console exclusive, right? Or play it first on PlayStation. Those days are now long gone. So yes, I get excited for these shows. I've always gotten excited for these shows. I get excited for Nintendo shows, for God's sakes, because I like to see games and I like to see new games. But now, even more so when I show up in State of Play, I know a lot of the games I'm going to see are going to be on Xbox as well and PC. So I'm like, cool. So I walked into the show expecting exactly what I got here. And in fact, I did get some new games out of this show and some good looks at other games that I was not aware of. And I got to say that even after the showcase, I came out of the showcase at a nice solid 8. It has remained a solid 8, but my hype level is even a little bit more because there's a couple games that stood out to me that have turned out to be not Souls-like games, that are actually going to be action-based games. And that's what I want to see. I love that everybody gets their Souls genre games now. It's a big genre. But my God,
I love
game,
this hack and slash renaissance.
bro, this is what we needed. This is what we needed.
About this I think we mentioned this on the show. I don't know. I want to give myself a little credit. I know you and Fuzz as well, too.
Yeah.
We've kind of parroted this that, listen, I love the Souls-like stuff, and I know you were getting into this, bro. But it was a trend. It was catching a bit of a wave, and it was time to get back to the hack and slash, the action adventure.
Yeah, have some balance, man.
Oh, please, man. I love
I'm not asking for the Souls genre to go away. Just give me some balance, bro.
Exactly,
just give me something. And again, the East once again delivers it. If you're not a fan of the Eastern style games, cool. Then I can't convince you otherwise. So you're not going to be into all this stuff. But for me, when I see a game like Tides of Annihilation show up out of the blue, again, from a dev team that nobody's heard of before, and all of a sudden it looks better than 95% of the AAA slop we've been getting, right? Yeah. Right? It's ridiculous. It's crazy that these studios just keep showing up. And they have the best looking, and I'm talking about looking, and that's always going to be subjective. But my God, the game is gorgeous. Yeah. And then I find out that it's going to be an actual action game because I thought it was going to be a Souls-like game. Too. And I was like, gee, whoa, Lord have mercy. And again, we're past the point of questioning whether or not these studios are going to stick the landing. I think we've got way too many examples. Of course they could fail the landing. But we've got way too many examples. Back when this gen started and we started seeing this unknown Eastern kind of flavor come through, everybody was like, yeah, it looks great, but could be a whole lot of bullshit here. Yeah. Are they faking this? Like, man, I don't know.
There was no reason to have that concern back then.
Remember that?
A lot of smoke and mirrors going on.
Black Myth Wukong got it. Like, everybody was getting it, bro.
I think Black Myth Wukong helped break the mold. Yeah.
They started to, but there was a lot of games that got that. Now, it could come out and fail. It could be terrible. True. Whatever. That's obviously still the case. But I'm just saying at this point, I'm trusting what I'm seeing and the action in that, along with the details, along with the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous character designs. And again, this is an Arthurian legend. They are doing something different with Knights of the Round Table, with King Arthur. I love the Arthurian legends, and people have played with those legends a lot. This looks extremely like a unique twist on it, because if you look closely, they are battling with what looks to be inside of a modern day London that has been torn apart by some kind of mythological or magical rift. Okay, because they show Big Ben laying in the water, right? So this is going to be a new take on the Arthurian legend, which I absolutely love. So again, I was already excited for it. Even if it was a Souls-like, I was going to watch people play it because I just thought it looked so freaking cool. The atmosphere, all the combat, all that kind of stuff. And then I found out, no, they're going to lean more into the action side of things. Okay, I'm all in. So that was huge for me. Then getting, again, something... like seeing Lost Souls aside again, like Lost Soul aside, to me, I thought that was a Souls game. Once again, I've been corrected by the brother from Another Steel Rain going, no, that is action as well. Okay. So again, I saw this game back in the day when it first, I think we saw it like 2 years ago. Something like that. And I was like, oh my God, this looks great, but it looks like a Souls-like game. Well, now we're seeing more. Now we found out it's an action game. Some people are downplaying it, saying that some of the graphics look dated. I'm looking at this game and going, I don't know what you people are seeing, but this is another gorgeous looking freaking game with some cool ass mechanics to it that I want to play now because it's an action game. So getting a great look at a game that had been kind of out of the public spotlight for a little bit, again, gets me excited because I'm looking forward to that one. And then something new again. Something I could talk about Warriors Abyss. I already told you that was a part of it, obviously. Warriors Abyss dropping out of nowhere. It's just awesome. Again, smaller game, not a big deal. But getting to see the new Onimusha, right? And getting to see what they are going to do to bring this game back. On top of the fact that obviously we got Onimusha 2, the remaster coming into play. I love Onimusha from back in the day. So this is already a big franchise to me. But getting to see where they are taking Onimusha, and it's supposedly going to be a 2026 release, but a good look at the character designs and the world that they're going for. Holy shit, this blew me out of the water. I'm going back and watching it in 4K again on the OLED. The character animations in this are phenomenal. And the fact that the writing and acting already is grabbing me because there's a little twist of humor in here too, to what is a very serious, dark world in Onimusha. I freaking love that. So seeing something like that, again, great to see. I could sit here all day. Borderlands 4 looked fantastic. Of course, you guys know I'm already sold on that. I didn't need to see anything more, but it's great. Hell Is Us looked fantastic. Again, a game that as long as it doesn't get too terrifying, I want to know what Hell Is Us. It looks like a Kojima mixed with a cyberpunk game. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I know I want to play it. So stuff like that, just this show hit for me. I wasn't expecting first party here. This was not a showcase. Again, the fact that they did drop Saros at the end was just a cherry on top as far as that goes, because I think Housemarque is great. Again, it was just a tease. We didn't see shit, but we got an idea of the atmosphere. I'm not the guy who needs to see gameplay. We got an idea of the atmosphere. We know how Housemarque has been ascending as a studio. Every release that they do is a little bit better than the last one. I think that Housemarque's got a lot of talent, so I can't wait to see what they bring in Saros. So just getting that tease was fantastic. Again, throwing in a first party title at the end, I thought it was dope as hell. This show had a little bit of everything for everybody, and so for me, again, it was a solid 8 easy all day long for me.
Awesome. So I'll give my quick review before we throw this over to the Fuzz here, and I want to mimic, kind of puppet a lot of what you said. I know Mav kind of went a different direction a little bit, and you kind of,
which is fine. I understand there's people out there that want to be sold like that. Like, I do get it. I get his. That's why I had him kind of expound upon it on PM and the PM, because I thought it was interesting when he gave it 2 scores. Because I'm like, okay, I can see how you do that. And I can kind of see, but I wanted to get his opinion because for me, I have no interest in being sold by PlayStation, and I didn't think that a state of play would ever do it. So I think it is an interesting thing, but there's probably still a lot of people out there like Mav who think like that. And again, I can see it from his point of view. So
no, absolutely. And I think too, just the expectation as a gamer as a whole, I think what we've come to expect from PlayStation as well too, Pong, right? That's a little bit, that plays a little bit intuitive as well. You know what I mean? Even though they've been going through a bit of a rough, and you broke that down as far as explaining where their current situation is and why they have this huge hole in their first party lineup. Even still, the brand strength, the brand recognition, there's still always that, okay, Sony's going to show us, PlayStation's going to show us. That's still always going to exist. Unfortunately, that is part of having such a strong brand, right? Like that comes along with having such a strong brand name, is that people are going to just, whether or not you outright state it, and sometimes you will, and, everybody catches on, but whether or not you outright say it, some people are still going to always feel like, they need to show this, they need to show that. So I get it. I completely understand too, but you make a great point too. I didn't really look at it from that perspective. You're not trying to be sold on PlayStation. So, you know what I mean? Like that's
PlayStation isn't trying to sell us. Again, I don't think they're doing according to them. And again, I laugh too at my console sales all the damn time, because obviously the software hasn't been living up to the console sales, and Hiroki's admitted that. That's why they wanted to do games as a service, was to get that revenue stream to cover they've told you multiple times, those big single player games cost too much and take too long, and it's not sustainable. They've said it out of the horse's mouth. I still don't know how they're going to fix not having the games of service, where they think they're going to get the other revenue, but that doesn't change the fact that they're also very happy with where they're at console wise, and they're just right behind the PlayStation 4, and the PS4, the PS5 Pro actually sold extremely well, better than expected according to Hiroki. So they're like not in a position with literally no real competition next to them to force anything and to try to sell anybody. They're doing fine. And so again, this is the problem that everybody brings up, that when Xbox goes this route, you do kind of leave Sony to kind of control their own market space. And this is what it leads to. They can kind of sit back a little bit and be really slow at their transition and kind of figure out what they're going to do now after the collapse of their games as a service initiative. And there's no pressure on them to really do anything else. There's not.
No, that's a good
Simple.
point.
I think that's what sucks.
Go ahead.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Like, that's what,
this is why I said I wanted Xbox still in the game, bro. Yes, I know. It does suck.
At the end of but that's why I'm going to look at the show for, like, that's the state that they're in and that's what they're doing. So I personally, I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
Like, hey, I want to, if I watch a PlayStation show, I want to see PlayStation game. You know, if I watch a Nintendo show, I want to see Nintendo games. If I watch an Xbox show, even if the games are going other places, I want to see the games made by Xbox. You know what I mean? And it's like, we didn't see gameplay from one PlayStation developed studio at that show.
Days Gone remaster, you did.
But
it's like remasters before you get the sequels. So
yeah, I get that maybe we shouldn't expect it anymore, but like because of the state that they're in. But the state that they're in is a 3 of a show.
I mean,
for a first party.
If it no, it is crazy to go into a direct. I mean, a PlayStation state of play and not expect any like you just said in the chat as well, not expect any actual first party games at all. That's kind of, you know what I mean, Pong? You know what I mean? Just in of itself.
Well,
right?
I do, but this is what they've been doing for quite a while, right? We've gotten like one game out of them showing or 2 games showing at these state of plays the past few years. How long has it been since the last showcase?
The last
2.5 years?
18 months, something crazy like that?
That's it's whatever it was.
2023, 2023,
2023, something like that. So
and it was horrible. And
right,
they hated it.
They hated it. They hated it.
Right.
That was
so
when they got the initiative, when they started that whole
when they started the games as service, when we got to see fair games, we got to
Yeah.
see all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And Concord, etc.
Yeah.
That's the point, though, is that these state of plays, again, the question is whether or not they actually do a showcase. Now there's some smoke that they're discussing internally whether or not they're going to do a showcase this summer, maybe.
I hadn't heard that. Wow.
Yeah. There's some smoke that they're thinking about doing it. But the question always was, well, maybe they're just done with showcases. Maybe they're just going to do state of plays. But the state of plays have been more third-party focused because they have used the state of plays to fill in all of the blank months where they didn't have first party. Because again, they've been on this stretch run of 2 games per year first party, basically, is what it's come down to. And so they've used the state of plays to kind of fill in that with third parties. Again, the difference, though, from my standpoint of watching this, and to Mav's point, the difference was we used to see console exclusive.
Yeah.
First on PlayStation.
Yeah.
We used to see that during parts of the show, right? And so then it felt like they were, this time, we didn't get any of that. And in fact, Xbox came out with a list of 20 games that's going to be over on Xbox right after the show, right? So they didn't do that. So that is starting to change because the industry from the third party standpoint is changing there as well. I'm sorry, I've taken up too much time.
No, good point. And we're going to throw this over to Fuzz, having a great discussion here. And shout out to everybody in the chat watching. I ain't forgot about you guys. E-Rings, Poison. What's up, Luke? We got another Fuzzy in there. Fuzzy Tomato. Shout out to the Kato, Poison Maniac, everybody, Nate Dogg, all you guys. Once again, let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live, new day, new time. You got to retweet the link, man. That's the only way people are going to find out, man. Let people know that we're here, new day, new time. But Fuzz, let's go ahead and get your opinion. We've got a few different ones, obviously, on the show, and it really depends on the perspective. There was a lot of shit shown. There was a lot of games. There's no denying that there was a lot of variety shown. Pong already highlighted, and I can go down the list as well of the tons of games that were shown. They had a variety there. Before a PlayStation show, there's a couple perspectives you can look at it, right? Like, as a PlayStation show, this may not have been to the standard that some people may have thought, right? You didn't get very much PlayStation in the state of play, which is odd to say, right? So where are you at? Just your opinion, maybe a couple, 3 or 4 games that you thought were the highlight as well.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat with Mav. I mainly look at the PlayStation showcases for stuff to buy for my PlayStation. I mean, I mainly play GT7 on it now. Otherwise, it collects dust. There's a handful of other games I'll start up on it on occasion, but as far as the showcase was concerned, great line of games. It's just it felt weird with it being a PlayStation showcase, not being labeled as a partner showcase, but it is what it is. Like Soros was the highlight for me as far as something I will buy either for my PlayStation or if it's day and date, possibly for my PC. But considering I bought Returnal, although I waited until it was on sale, I'll probably do either the same with Soros or maybe it's a day one buy, especially if it's PC day and date. And if they do co-op, like they eventually added to Returnal, yeah, it will definitely be a day one purchase at that point. But actually the highlight for me is a game that I've been talking about, waiting for it to get shown, or more than like CGI stuff shown, was Mind's Eye. That was the one that I said would probably be better than GTA 6, and people looked at me crazy just for the fact that it was a former dev or the former head for Rockstar, director from Rockstar that left when they didn't want to pay him, and he started his own deal with Build a Rocket Boy. So I know they had another game that's like Fortnite like, but this was the main one I was waiting to see more details as far as actual gameplay. And it didn't disappoint, although some of the explosion stuff looked a little Michael Bay-ish, dated, I guess you could say, but it's no different than what you would see probably in GTA anyway. So that was a nice highlight. Was it Hell Is Us?
Hell Is Us,
Got a release date, which Xbox kind of released that or leaked that early, I think. And Xbox did another thing where they allowed you to pre-order. Was it Unveiling Tides Annihilation, or Tides of Annihilation was the one that they had early on the website, so you could wish list it or pre-order it, but they had the canceled pre-orders for anybody that was quick on the trigger on that one. But good show for a gaming showcase or a gaming state of play, let's say. But for PlayStation, I was hoping that maybe we do get to see an update on Ghost of Yotai, and the reason being, I was under the impression it would probably be before the fall or maybe like late summer, although there's plenty of time for another state of play at that point. But maybe at that point they'll show something that will show a distinct difference between the PS5 Pro versus the standard. Not that I intend on buying a PS5 Pro at this point. I don't see the value in it for me, but decent set of games. Lost Soul aside is like their one console exclusive, at least at the meantime, whether it's timed or what have you. But it was good to see a lot of these games and know that I can either pick and choose to buy them on PC, buy them on Xbox, or buy them on PlayStation. So whichever ecosystem I choose to cater to, that's where I'll wind up picking them up. But not a bad showcase, just in my opinion, a bad PlayStation showcase. But it is what it is. This is their transition into I wouldn't say coasting. I know a lot of people are running those headlines of them coasting, which they kind of are to some extent. I mean, you can't dispute, like kind of like what Pong said, they canceled a whole bunch of those games as a service games, and that leaves that blank or that hole in their lineup as far as up and coming stuff, which maybe we would have had 2 or 3 a year over the next several years, but now it's going to be one from them and maybe 1 or 2 money hats that they mix in there type of deal. But in the grand scheme of things, if you are a PlayStation only person, I kind of was expecting also maybe to see some of the Xbox titles get the release dates. Like
that was another thing that was interesting too. A lot of people were looking forward to that as PlayStation fans as well. PlayStation fans, but just people in general expected those to come, and they didn't come. So
yeah, I don't know if they feel weird about showing their competitors' titles on their platform. At some point, they're going to have to break that mold as far as possibly showing them there. I mean, outside of what they did in the past with Deathloop and what was the other one? The something Tokyo. I forget. Ghostwire Tokyo. Yeah. So at some point, I guess we'll get release dates and things like that over there. But I enjoyed a lot of the games I saw there. Directive 8020 looks rather interesting, although I guess it's not as much of a playable game as it is like one of those anthology type games or at least it's, I think, made by the same type of people, but it still looked pretty cool. But Shinobi getting a very artful and colorful, updated, I guess roguelike slasher or side-scrolling slasher. So that looked pretty cool. But yeah, not a bad showcase. Just it feels like they should have put partnered. I think they did kind of make mention that it was from studios abroad, so that should have, kind of given everybody the signal. Yeah, maybe not PlayStation abroad, first party studios, but all in all, yeah, not bad. Just not what I was expecting out of PlayStation, at least at this point in the year. But who knows? Summer showcase. I mean, we always get PlayStation fans saying, "Oh, just wait for the second secret summer showcase." It's always a second showcase coming at some point in time in the year. Let's see if they actually do a showcase. But I kind of agree with Pong. I think showcases are done at this point. I think Ghost of Yotai being at a state of play and Soros being at a state of play, what need is there to have a showcase when you don't have anything really to show from your first party that you're now starting to mix into your state of plays, like Intergalactic and so forth. So maybe this is their new approach.
That's a great point. And I want to kind of piggyback off of that before we get into Avowed, and because we'll spend some time talking about that. I'm super excited, by the way. And shout out to everybody in chat. What's up? And once again, let us know what you guys thought about the state of play as well, too. I love to see you guys' opinions, good or bad, doesn't matter. I just want to see what you guys thought about the showcase. But I want to ask you, gentlemen, this leads to a very interesting question. And Pong, you hinted at this earlier unknowingly. The showcase, is PlayStation even doing one? Is that like, how valuable is that to them at this point? Because that presents another question, right? You just brought it up, Fuzz. Like, how valuable is a showcase, a standalone PlayStation showcase during the summertime, if you're just going to pepper everything in, or you don't have enough content, and the content you do have, you can only you have a couple state of plays and you got the VGAs to pepper it in there. That's where you're going to be putting all your big surprises and things like that. So like, is there a need for a summer showcase? Like, have we thought about that?
Oh, I think they could do it, because they do have a team. They got Corey Barlog's team, who's been working on a game for 3 years. It's a brand new IP, 3 years plus. I can't believe they didn't tease it. That's what I actually thought we
were going to see. I can't believe Intergalactic.
Right, I couldn't believe they didn't tease that yet. So you could do that. You could definitely have a snippet of intergalactic gameplay. Now that you've teased it out, you could do that. You do have to show off fair games, whatever's happening to that. If that is still launching, again, it's been delayed to 2026. Yep. Wolverine, I think that Insomniac doesn't show that shit until like a month before it drops because of the leaks. However, you could obviously show it off if, like Mav brought up, the leak was real and they're still working on Venom. You would have Venom there as well. Obviously, there's probably a couple other studios that have had some stuff to show. That you could show off. Obviously, we know that we're getting a Death Stranding showing in March, I want to say now, from Kojima himself, but obviously you could still have another Death Stranding showing. If you did a showcase, Kojima will definitely supply you stuff. So you definitely you could highlight that. Ghost of Yotai could definitely have a nice breakdown. They could go to a direct style showcase where they are a little bit behind the scenes with the devs, like we've seen Tina Amini and her team do with Xbox, and you could round it out. You could fill out a 30-45 minute show with Sony first party stuff and kind of give a roadmap. So I think there is some value there. Again, do they need to? I don't think they do, and I think that's why there's even a discussion right now internally, if that's real, that whether or not they're going to do it.
That up, and I was whether that was even a thing.
Whether or not Sony Corp believes it's even valuable for them to do at this point, because again, there's nobody outside of the people in this community here asking the questions, and the enthusiasts, the ponies, the clown show, all those guys, but the enthusiasts, they're not asking. They don't care. Everything's great. The goalpost wall, everything's fantastic. They they got plenty of games to play now because third party counts. Now we know anything published by either company is first party for sure. So they've got published games like Stellar Blade and that kind of stuff. They're good. They've been good and will continue to be good. So is anybody asking for it outside of those of us that look at this industry and go, it'd be nice to have a nice roadmap from them. Roadmaps used to be important. We used to get hopes and dreams shows that sold, as Mav said, would sell you on why you needed to own a certain box. But Do they believe that anymore? I don't think they do, and I think they think they're fine. Yes, but everything's changed.
These companies can be so they are going the opposite directions very fast.
The writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall, PTK, when they dropped out of E3, just like Nintendo. When they stopped going to E3, they don't care anymore.
I was thinking about that the other day because we jumped on E3's ass when that happened. And a lot of people talked about E3 being relevant, and we can still talk about it now, whether it is or isn't. The
well, we got the new one coming back, supposely, like this new.
Isn't that like the
E3
Icon show?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Like
Microsoft and everybody's backing it up.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
But yeah, no,
they're going to be like a show though. It's just going to be like a.
Yeah, we'll have to see how.
Thing,
yeah, it's going to start like the original E3 did, right? Without any public really being there.
Okay.
I think it's going to be more industry flavored than it, like like the original E3 was. But yeah, I think the writing was on the wall that they started separating themselves and saying we don't need to do this stuff anymore. Just much like Nintendo did. Nintendo has no reason. Nintendo shows when they want to show. They've got games in the fucking vault for years that are done and complete and ready to drop, and they just hold them, and nobody says boo. Like, oh, I hope it shows this time for 2 years, and then finally Metroid shows up. Like, they do that, like, 'cause they can, and I think Sony is starting to get to that spot where they're in the same boat. Even if they're even if they're transitioning, even if there's lots of problems and they don't have a whole lot of content and they've ruined a lot of time and wasted a lot of money through this games as a service shit, all that's true, and we've heard about it. It's public. It's not hidden. This is from their own mouths, but even if that's all true, they're kind of, again, they don't have any reason to do anything right now. They don't. They can kind of sit back and just fix things and not tell anybody what they're doing. It's
a very, very ironic spot to be. I mean, well, it's an ironic spot to be in. You know what I mean? Because we've always had this conversation about competition and what does it actually mean, and we're kind of seeing that in real time, right? So it's kind of interesting to see about this showcase. And Mav, I kind of want to throw this over to you. I just asked Pong about whether they do have a showcase or not. Now, he mentioned that it may not even be valuable at this point, and part of that reason being the lack of competition. So what do you think? Are they even having a showcase? You think? I mean, they haven't really. You're right, Pong. They haven't really like pushed the initiative at all. Like, people ask the questions around. They ask them when Xbox does their showcase. Like, we get these questions about PlayStation Showcase when Xbox announces theirs.
Yeah, you see any articles out there questioning if Sony's ever going to have a showcase? No, you don't.
No, you don't. We don't get those questions until Xbox announces theirs, and then all the rumors start up about the next PlayStation one being some random secret date or something like that. That's when we start getting those rumors. So it's very interesting. But Mav, this year, do they need to do one at all, brother?
I don't think they can.
Oh, so it's a matter they can't do one.
Yeah, they don't have enough stuff to show. I mean, like, not for games releasing in the next couple of years. I mean, like, they could maybe do the hopes and dreams thing, which is what I've always kind of wanted them to do, like reveal some of your lineup and all this other kind of stuff. But it seems like they're not doing that. They did have a showcase in 2023. And I think they were shocked and surprised that everyone hated it.
That's true.
And that started.
Which one was that? Was that the one that they showed their? They had like the movie trailer.
Fair Games, Concord. They had those. Marathon was there.
Is that when they showed the Gran Turismo movie trailer?
Yes.
I believe yes.
Oh,
that was there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So that show that was their showcase of 2023, and that is what started the snowball out of the games of service, because that was going to be their direction going forward. Plus, they also had the issues behind the scenes with development and all these other kind of things, right? But it was shortly after that showcase that Jim Ryan announced that he was leaving, and they had canceled some of the games within a couple months after that showcase as well. Now they do tracking and all these other kind of things, and look at hype around things and pre-orders and all these other kind of stuff. After that 2023 showcase, they were like, "Oh shit, people don't like this. We thought this was going to be the future of PlayStation, but people hate it." Then you have the fallout going on, right? Ever since that time. So then you had all the games of service cancellations. You had Jim Ryan leave. You had the shakeup with Hiroki Totoki taking over. You had a further shakeup now with Herman Hulse being essentially demoted, with Nishino being in charge of him now as well. And more cancellations recently with Sony Bend and Blue Points games. So we're at this point, like Palm was saying, it's like a big reset. I call it the big. I'll just call it the big reset. The big reset at PlayStation. They hit the reset button. They were like, crap. So if they had enough great stuff to show, I think they would be super happy to go out there and be like,
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah, let's do a showcase and get everybody hyped up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like,
Yeah.
why not? You know? But I mean, they still do work on these state of plays. It's not like a 45-minute state of play is too different than a showcase. It's just what games are there, right? And ultimately, they don't have enough of their own games to justify anything being called a showcase.
Yeah.
So until that happens, then we won't get a showcase. Unless they're willing to do hopes and dreams and reveal
Now,
things for further out.
and I think
And
they're being
I'm
super
down for
cautious
that.
going forward, though.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
they're gonna be extremely cautious.
if they have one, I mean, what I would expect to see is like Punk said, like maybe that Venom thing if it shows up,
Mhm.
the maybe another look at Intergalactic, Ghost of Yote, and maybe Death Stranding 2 gets its release date. Or
Mhm.
is it, unless it already has, I'm not sure. And some other maybe new announcements that we haven't heard of that would be further out, right? I could see maybe that being enough and combining with some third party stuff. Wolverine, throw it in there too. So if it's possible, but I think that's why they haven't done it.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't think it's because we're in this strong position we don't need to. I think it's just like they just were like, well, we're not going to cramble a bunch of stuff together and call it a showcase unless we actually feel good about it because last
Yeah.
time was a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to do these state of plays, 45-minute state of play and be like, okay, we're just going to roll this out. It's going to be mostly third party stuff. We'll throw one of our first party games in there to kind of show people that, this is another game that's going to be announced. And but overall, there's not a lot that I think they have ready for gameplay and big reveals and
Yeah.
dates and stuff like that. I mean, you look at the drastic difference between like the Xbox showcase that we got last year or in the year before comparatively to like any state of play or PlayStation
Yeah, it's
show that we've
insane.
gotten in
It's insane.
years. I mean, in a long, long time. And even Nintendo Directs, right? I watched some of these Nintendo Directs and it's like Nintendo game, Nintendo game, Nintendo game. Then they have some other stuff too, right? But it's just been glaring, and I think, like, for me as a fan of gaming, I want Nintendo to be great. I want PlayStation to be great. I want Xbox to be great. I want them to all make great games that are kind of signature to their brand and identities that sell me to want to play on those systems or in the ecosystem, right? I can be everywhere. I can enjoy all ecosystems. But PlayStation, if they are just taking the back seat here because they can rest on their laurels from their position, for me, that as a consumer, that's not a thing I'm say, hey, cool, PlayStation, you do you because you're doing great, right? I'm saying, hey, you're doing great, still give me the things that I would want as a customer of your ecosystem. And I hope to be sold back into it because you've lost me for now. And maybe it'll take a showcase, to highlight some awesome things coming up. Maybe it'll take more state of plays or something that where they show something I'm actually truly excited for. But yeah, I think what we haven't gotten it to this point is because they haven't been able to. We'll see. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I said they can't before. I think they can. It just depends on what they're willing to show,
Yeah.
right?
And I,
And I don't know about that.
yeah, and that's the crazy part. And once again, where does this all those cancellations leave them, right? I think we're trying to see them. And I said this before, man, we're watching Sony have to figure this out in real time. That's what's kind of odd about this situation that Sony's in. So, and I don't think, like you said, I think I want to reiterate to this point, I don't think that this is just a low point. This is kind of the roller coaster of the industry. Every company goes through it. As great as that brand strength is, as many consoles they're happy about being sold, they are having to deal with a situation currently as far as their first party games. So they'll have to get through that. So Fuzz.
But just think about it. Just think about it real quick. Sorry, Fuzz. I don't mean to say
but
think about it though. Had they stayed the course, even if they canceled a few of the games as a service, right? But had they stayed the course, had they not canceled factions, like you would have updates with like new DLC dropping for factions. Like we could be in a whole different world where they actually had, 2 or 3 games like Helldivers 2 underneath their belt that was actually doing really well and building a fan base out on the console and the PC market. And like we could be in a totally different spot where the showcases actually would matter because people would be excited to get not only their first party because they'd still be producing single player games, but getting updates to those games as a service like we see at every Xbox show, right? Where we get updates to all the games as a service games and people in the, the fans of those games, the communities of those games get excited. Like even if the casual isn't, it's still reason to watch those shows. We could be in a totally different world right now. It's wild to think
that
about.
would be more exciting for me for sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. Well, the problem with that is that when you kind of wean your fan base, you tell them that those games don't matter. Correct. Those games are, great games.
And when you half dip your toe, we hate that shit. You can't dip your toe. You got to go, man. And that's that's the thing they've been doing.
Like, where was Fair Games and where was Marathon? Like those are the ones that they were still supposed to be. Hey, these are still here, and they were supposed to both be this year.
Horizon one is still supposedly going too. Yeah, and that one's been being made for a long ass time too.
Like, just show us something to get us excited about these potential games. Like I
just think that they're not going to give them attention now. I don't think if one of them succeeds, Mav, like Helldivers 2, they will take it, but I don't think they're going to push them because now the narrative is they can't make those games. They don't want to make those games, and their fan base really doesn't want them either. Yeah. So they're just going to kind of put them out there and cross their fingers, but they're not going to put a whole lot of effort. Look at what happened after Concord. That was it, bro. Oh yeah, after Concord, that was it.
And I think it's funny to look back on that because we talked about it at the time. We didn't realize how big of a fallout, how much of an impact that actually was going to have, on their first party development or just their development of the rest of those live service games. And I think it's clear to see Mav, Pong, and Fuzz that's had an absolute massive effect on like the direction of where they plan to go as far as their roadmap. Because like you said, they hit the fucking e-brake on everything. I don't know how interested they even are in trying to make those kind of games anymore.
I mean, if you look at like the time of cancellation of what was it, like 8 games within, it felt like a week or a couple of weeks after the Concord debacle. Yeah, it definitely changed the direction that they're moving. I mean, you can't expect the company to lose that kind of money where you have all that time and resources invested into something that, you barely cracked $1 million in sales kind of deal that you had to refund shortly thereafter. The server space or the server costs, the talent, the studio purchase itself, all of those expenses definitely caught up to them, and they had essentially a Google moment, like when Xbox bought Bethesda, and they realized we ain't about to spend those $7 billion to make some more $1 billion. No, we're expecting to kind of put the minimum into it, and it give us this big return. It's like product something profit kind of thing. Yeah, they weren't about to take any more chances, and that's I'm surprised Fair Game is actually surviving at this point. But I guess they figured because they also made a studio purchase, they got to get something out of that purchase cost that they put into Jade Raymond's studio and stuff. But I don't know. I just it's weird now considering some of the stuff we've heard prior, like Factions was canceled supposedly because Bungie didn't think it was a good enough game. Yet Bungie thought Concord was a good enough game, and we all know how that went. And it feels like just the office culture I've been in prior, it feels like Bungie sabotaged Naughty Dog intentionally because they didn't want something to outshine Marathon, or at least that's the crazy tinfoil hat idea I'm getting out of it. But it just feels weird that something like Factions at the time when it was announced, the number one most wish listed game on Steam was that Day Before, which was a scam to begin with, but it looked like it was a cross between The Last of Us and The Division. They could have capitalized on that. And I don't care how little content they would have had. I think the fans would have stuck around enough to kind of give them the feedback in the direction that they could head, and they could have kind of turned that into something bigger than what they even anticipated. That game stood no chance of being a complete failure, even if they tried, kind of deal. But yet they scuttled it because the studio was probably burnt out trying to do that stuff and do or help with the remaster stuff and potentially work on, you know, I was about to say State of Decay 3, The Last of Us 3, or even with Intergalactic. It's like, I wouldn't say they were in over their heads because they're masters of the craft, but it just felt like they took the easier route or went with what they feel is the low hanging fruit. But I think whatever they had in the oven for Factions, they could have probably put out there and had 10 times the response that they did compared to Concord, even in its most earliest infancy, even as an early access, which that to me would have made more sense than canceling, because you can never get the money back on something you never ship. If you at least ship it, you can at least recoup something. I mean, you kind of got that with Concord, but then they decided to refund it, which was probably a good idea in all honesty. But it just, it boggles my mind, like the whole Spider-Verse thing. And I know IPs, like, you know, well-known IPs don't always guarantee. And I know there's a lot of people that throw shade at Marvel Rivals. I haven't played it, but a lot of people I know that have played it says it's a fun or good game. Maybe it's not as good as Overwatch 2. I don't know. But in any event, it's definitely holding its own. It's definitely doing a lot better than Concord did, and it was a free to play, which that's what that kind of genre or that niche wants these days. Like, nobody wants to pay $40 to be your beta tester. Nobody wants to do that. If it's free to play and they can get some skins out of it, or they can, you know, buy some skins to characters that they're familiar with, or that, you know, attract their attention, yeah, they'll do that. But the Spider-Verse thing, that I can't imagine who heard that in the pitch and was like, nah, we're not going to do that. And I mean, sure, maybe the Marvel licensing costs were, you know, a bit much. Maybe that was the reasoning, but I just can't imagine that not succeeding on some level, even if it's only for a year or two after you've sold everybody about 32 different skins for Spider-Man and you know, your companion crew or whatever kind of thing. But yeah, it's weird at this point. And I'm shocked that all the news I hear about Sony coming out about, like, they pitched, what was it? Insomniac pitched, Resistance, which was a game that I used to love during the PS3 era, which, you know, a World War II meets Aliens kind of, you know, mixture. I think there's room for that in, you know, the first person shooter genre, but apparently somebody on the board or somebody in a cubicle, or not, something larger than a cubicle, said, nah, we're not going to do that, or we're not going to green light it. I think was a mistake. Same thing with, like, you know, what was it, Twisted Metal, which, yeah, Destruction All-Stars could have been that, but then they made Destruction All-Stars too much like it was trying to be a Fortnite with cars. And then Fortnite came out with, you know, different car modes and things that kind of obliterated that. So I don't know. We'll see if they can coast or how long they coast. The showcase aspect of things, like I said, I think they're done with it. I mean, Mav had a good point as far as, you know, everybody gave them bad scores or said they hated that one from 2023. Yeah, maybe that makes them gun shy, just like how Concord made them gun shy on these games as a service. And now it's just better probably to mix in these, you know, first party games that they're working on that are, you know, these secret projects that they would normally set aside for a showcase. Just throw them in the state of play. That could be your one more thing, or keep people interested enough beyond the consoles you've already sold. Maybe somebody that was on the fence, which I can't imagine you being on the fence this far into the generation unless you're already just on a PS4 or an Xbox One. You know, being on the fence about a PS5 at this point. But yeah, we'll see how they do. I think it's just a matter of Sony's going to have to figure out what will make them the most money for their shareholders to be happy. Will that be day and date PC ports? I think that's probably the sooner rather than later move. And then after that, maybe get their own PC launcher, which they've already had some hard learned lessons from the PC crowd on how you're going to get people to, give you their information or link their account or something along those lines. You have to give them some sort of freebie, give them some sort of rewards or treats, whether it's skins or additional DLC content. That's probably the best way to go about it. And you may get enough of the PC crowd to do that. And then from there, I guess lean more so on the PC crowd or look at your options on Nintendo Switch. Although the Horizon game, while it seems like it would have been a good Switch game, there's a couple other games in their portfolio that would have probably did better, like Astrobot, which is one that should be on PC and probably should be on Switch at this point. But we'll see if they make that kind of leap after that. But yeah, they're in a weird spot from as far as what I can see. It feels like early PS3 era time where it's like they didn't know what to do because they had so much success the previous generation that they kind of tripped over their own feet. Although this time at least they got the hardware locked down. They sold a ton of that compared to the PS3 earlier on. Most of their sales came after reiterations and cheaper models of the PS3 later on. But PS5, they sold a lot out the gate and they continue to sell a lot. And now they just got to figure out how to get the software to match.
Awesome, man. It's a great topic, man. We've been talking about PlayStation State of Play, the console, the roadmap, man. So if you missed that, you're going to have to watch on the replay, man. We are turning the page here. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody in chat. I appreciate every single one of you guys coming out. Like I said, new day, new time for the show. So retweet that link out. Let everybody know we are live here at the shop, man. So we are moving on, and I want to get into Avowed, man. I'm so excited to talk about this. Obviously, I've been a big proponent. We have been on this show talking about Avowed since we first saw it, right? I think we've all been fans of this game, and it's from a fantastic studio, one that I've called probably a top 3 dev at Xbox, and I think that they've proved it once again with this game in many, many different ways. So I kind of want to go around the panel here and get everybody's opinion on just the game first and foremost. And for one, I'm extremely impressed. I haven't played it yet. I'm going the Pong route, right? I'm going to hold off and wait till it's available for everybody. It's available in Game Pass, and I'll play it then. But I have fucking watched so many Twitch streams, so many YouTube videos, walkthroughs, everything you can probably think of, reactions, just to see as much as I possibly can. And I'm thoroughly impressed with the gameplay. I saw that Digital Foundry called it one of the best UE5 games, and I think that that's extremely impressive considering how tough UE5 has been this generation and how hard it's been to get it right. The fact that they were able to make it good on console or serviceable on console, give you different mode options as far as like frame rate and things like that. And the game is beautiful, especially on a PC, right? A lot of people I've watched played it on PC, and it's fucking amazing. It looks beautiful. The draw distances are crazy. The environments are beautiful. The colors pop. Everything. Combat's good. But I want to get into some people that played it. Mav, haven't you jumped in already? Pretty sure.
I have not.
You have not either. You're waiting.
I've been fighting my FOMO like the other guys, and we have 2 days to go.
Yeah, 48 hours, brother. So yeah. Okay, so we a few of us haven't played it. So I know you probably watched a few people play it. You've been watching any streams or anything like that?
I haven't watched the streams just because I don't like. I've been sold on this game for forever, right? Sweet. I probably my second most anticipated this game this year behind Fable.
Nice.
And it's actually like just the gameplay clips I've been seeing on Twitter and all that stuff actually kind of exceeded my expectations of what to expect for the combat. Yeah. It looks like fast and fun and hectic and crazy and just like all these effects going on everywhere. And that's kind of I played, if you play like games like Skyrim or Oblivion and things like that with these Western RPGs that are in the fantasy realm, kind of like what they're doing with Avowed, you kind of have an expectation. And a lot of the gameplay that they showed early on for Avowed, and the trailers and all that kind of stuff, still kind of felt more in line with that as far as pacing and everything goes. But these clips I'm seeing of actually just people playing, it's this combat is fast and hectic. And, like it got me even more excited to play it.
Mhm.
I saw like clips of a little bit of exploration. Um, People are talking about the companions, that how amazing they are. So everything that all the reasons why I was excited to dive into Avowed
Mhm.
have been like cemented double, triple times now. So
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it every day, um, and just on pins and needles, waiting to dive in on the 18th.
So I noticed something, and you brought this up, right?
Yep.
And I kind of hinted at it as well as the striking thing right away when you watch it is like you said, the fluidity, like how fluid it is now versus it was very much a Starfield situation. Remember Starfield when we first saw combat? It was very clunky, quite slow. It looked a little laborious, right? Then by the time we saw it at the direct, it was like pow, shoot, slide, dash. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could do all of this. All of a sudden, it was Doom, right? Like well, Doom to a degree, right? And that's kind of what Obsidian has been able to do with the combat and graphically, man. I'm impressed, Mav. I did not. I was excited about this, but this is like truly like AAA quality stuff, man. What they've been able to do with that engine, bro. You know how hard UE5's been to deal with this generation?
Oh
And to be
yeah.
able to get a game out and give people three different options on the series X, what was 60, 50, 40, something like that. And then it run, well, as far as I know some people have had some issues, some bugs here and there with the game, but generally the games looked and ran well on PC as well.
Yeah, and I haven't really had I've seen some people mention things about a crash here and there or
Yeah,
something
I've
like
seen that
that,
too.
but like overall, I've found that most people are kind of really impressed with the performance of the game. And I think it just kind of goes to the credit of the time that these devs are being given, right? There's like less pressure to have to get the game out at a specific time, and they're have extra time for polish and graphical fidelity of features, enhancements, optimization, all this kind of stuff, right? So we're seeing these games like Indiana Jones is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now Avowed, another one that just looks great, and
Yeah.
I got to get my hands on it, obviously. But from everything I can see, plays amazing and super smooth. So, um, then after that, we have even more to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So, South and Midnight previews were really positive. But like without these devs having like this extreme pressure, like you have to hit this time, right? You have to hit this time. You have to hit this time. It's more or less now like Xbox is saying like, do you have to can we, like, move you out a little bit because, like, there's too much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the overall, I think it's benefiting these devs where they are in in the generation right now to be able to, kinda take their time a little bit and make sure things come out when they're ready.
Exactly. And this is a huge win for Obsidian. I'm not gonna lie. This is a huge win for Obsidian because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people were cold, not cold, but were like trying to play middle ground, like Obsidian wasn't a fantastic studio and they didn't have the kind of pedigree that they have. And I think this is them reminding people like we really do this. Like, and not only have Obsidian put this game out, they got another one right behind it that's coming out very soon.
Yep.
So they've been able to put them out. Not only the quality, the quantity's there too. I've always kind of, and I know some people don't like this comparison. I've kind of compared them to Insomniac, right, with the level of quality and quantity of games they've been able to put out, like seemingly every 18, 20 months or so, they're able to get something out and work on two games at one time. So kudos to Obsidian, man. We don't want to forget about that because I don't know why people was playing with Obsidian's name like they weren't really that good of a dev.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I see some are saying like, "Hey, it's their favorite dev right now." Period. I see some like, "Oh, they've never been that great." And so I don't know. Obsidian's always been a top tier dev to me. I think they back in the day they used to kind of play little brother to some of the other
Mm-hmm.
big RPG studios like BioWare and Bethesda, right? Where they would make sequels to their games kind of. Neverwinter Nights 2 was a sequel. Knights of the Old Republic 2 was a sequel, both of those to BioWare games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Fallout New
New
Vegas, a sequel
Vegas.
to
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda a game, right? So or not necessarily a sequel, but in their universe, right? So they were always kind of like pigeonholed as like this, like, hey, it's not the A studio, but it's like the B studio. But wow, if their games aren't some of the fan favorites in these franchises, also, so you see kind of where their place has been. Then they kind of go off and do some of their own stuff. They create the Pillars universe and release the Pillars 1 and 2. They had some other CRPGs they did. They went and they tried to do Alpha Protocol with Sega. Didn't get the budget or time that they should have gotten for that, but it still remained a cult classic to many. Um, so they've continued to try and innovate, but they've never had the resources at their disposal like Xbox. They've always had to go chase deals and chase, South Park. Okay, let's just make a deal with Ubisoft for making the South Park. Um, they've never had that. Hey, we're going to support you, fulfill your vision from beginning to end, release the game when it's ready type situation. The closest thing might have been with the Private Division with 2K and Outer Worlds. I don't know exactly what the development process was like on that, but I think that game is what cemented them to Xbox. Like, hey, we need to get those guys. We see that they're making this other game that they have this vision for. We want to bring them in and make them a first party studio. But since then, they did Grounded, they did Pentiment. Now we're at Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 in the
Worlds 2,
same
yeah.
year, right? And all of these games are just unique, individual, great experiences. So, man, Obsidian is definitely cemented for me as like a top tier A class studio capable of doing many different things. And it's great to see how that they're benefited by that acquisition from Xbox to be able to
Yeah.
create all these things,
Yeah. And it's crazy how these some of these acquisitions, the Obsidian acquisition, Ninja Theory, some of those like I remember at the time a lot of people didn't look at those like they were that big of a deal. I don't you remember that, Mav, when that happened. People were like, those are cool studios, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they got some good stuff, kind of. Yeah, those are cool. But now,
Yeah, it was like
right, there was kind of ho hum. Even same thing that happened when they got the people that made Psychonauts. Lord knows I
Double
can't even think
Fine.
of it. Double Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that was all part of that bundle, and everyone was like, cool, yeah, like those
In
are cool.
Exile.
Yeah, in Exile. Yeah, but now they're paying fucking dividends, man. Those guys are they're out there pumping out games. They're part of they're large parts of the upcoming roadmap. They're punching above their weight. I think Avowed, in my opinion, it's come out far more. It beat my expectations by far. Like I haven't even played it yet, and I know nor have you, but just from my personal expectations, it's already exceeded a majority of what I thought it was going to be, man. So I'm
I'm
already
liking what I'm seeing, man.
Yeah, for sure. So Pong, let's throw this over to you, brother. You haven't played it as well, but this one of the games we've looked at. You know what I mean. You're a big fan of Obsidian as well too. But just where you at on Avowed? I know you probably watched a bunch of people play. Maybe you've seen some gameplay. I know Steele's playing it, which is a big deal, obviously.
Yeah, it's weird. He's playing it before me. We jumped to a different timeline somehow,
right.
where Steele plays Avowed before me. The man who wasn't going to touch it originally.
At all.
It's
he
crazy.
Was cold on Avowed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, he's just he knows what he likes,
what he
man.
likes.
That's how he is.
But shout out to Steele, by the way.
Shout out to Steele. But the fact is he's actually really enjoying it, which is amazing. But yeah, no, for me, yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Obsidian's work, right? I said it from the beginning that I thought underneath Xbox they could take that next step. They were always like the little brother to Bethesda, and they could always take the next step. I thought with the right, with having the resources and the time given to them. Now I still want to see them do a big giant open world project like a Skyrim, because I think they could pull it off, but they continue to do what they know and what they're masters of, which are these smaller, much more condensed versions of a Skyrim with semi-open areas. Now, what's got me super excited from everything that's being said about this game and why this was my most anticipated game second half last year, why I was so disappointed that it had been delayed to this year, is because of not only the character development, not only of the choice and consequence that they put in their worlds, but the exploration is what people are really talking about right now. And everybody here knows me. That is one of my like if you're gonna give me an open world or a semi-open world, if you give me rewarding exploration, you're already starting at like a 7.5, 8 in my ratings. Cause like, okay, that's what I do in games. That's why when people are talking about, oh, this is a 15-20 hour game if you run through the main quest.
Nah.
I'm like, bro, I don't know how people play like that, but I'm like, nah, 15, 20 hours, that's probably going to be me in the first freaking town. Like, I explore everything. Like, that's how I am. And again, it's part of the reason why I don't finish games is because I explore so much. So when I started hearing this and people are confirming it more and more that the exploration is freaking rewarding, that you go and find stuff and that there's even more verticality than we first thought. I knew there was going to be verticality. You could see it in some of the early trailers. People... Go ahead.
No, I saw some, like you said.
Yeah,
I saw some people playing the game, and I mentioned this, and I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when I told you when I went back early on a few months ago, and I watched some streamers that got flown out there to play it, and there a lot of what they were saying in their reviews, they were extremely surprised by how large the game felt, because the initial impression was this is more of a, you know what I mean, more linear, just kind of small pockets of exploration. It wouldn't be, but it was a lot larger, a lot more verticality. That was one of the things that surprised people the most. So I'll get off my soapbox here, but I wanted to throw that in as well too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that adds again to the fact that it's a semi-open world game, but people are saying that it does, like you just said, feel so much larger once you're in that world, especially if you're going to explore and do side quests and do the stuff that a lot of us RPG lovers do. So everything I'm hearing is telling me that this is the game that I thought it was going to be. There is some early disappointments that I was aware of that people have now confirmed by playing it. The no stealing thing is a big one to me. That has been in every other Obsidian game. Why it's not in this game, I still don't understand. And that is a problem because I'm a thief in my RPGs. So again, there's stuff like that. The ability to, or the lack of ability to kill off the NPCs. That is also another disappointment. Because in Outer Worlds, you can basically attack pretty much anybody, and wipe them out. So there is some small stuff that is going to be different for me coming into this game. However, everything else that I've seen, especially now that we know that the combat, which again, the combat, I could care less. I've played so many janky first-person combat RPGs in my lifetime. I really don't give a shit. But if you're going to smooth that out, and I was watching Steele's clips today, and Steele's put out some really good clips. And again, this is the man who I thought was going to be playing this game 98% third person. All of a sudden, he's posting clips of full-out battles, and he's, by the way, folks, playing on the hardest difficulty as he is wont to do as well. So these battles are not like, oh, I'm just going to overwhelm the AI. No. Steele is doing his usual methodical dodge, parry, block, attack, like flat out, because he gets mauled. I mean, again, if he one hit and it's taken off a lot of health, but watching him change between shield and mace into magic on the fly and casting a spell and then back to shield and mace. That is something that the previews did talk about, and people were very impressed with that. Watching it in action, it is fantastic. And you can pause in battle and really swap out to a new set of spells if you want to, but just the hotkeyed combat that Steele was showing off in his looked really good, and he specifically was trying to get a good clip of combat to show people how it looked, because there was some early clips from some people who said that the combat wasn't good, that it was janky, etc. Steele's become really a defender of games recently over this past couple of years with the hate, and he really does think a lot of it does come down to skill issue a lot of the time, and how people approach this stuff. And so he does like to show this stuff off. And again, compared to what I had seen from some of the people who were saying that the combat was kind of janky and whatever else, Steele's fight with the big bear was pretty freaking dope, man. And it looked pretty damn good. And again, coming from the first person, a dude who doesn't play first person. So I'm taking all of that along with the other people's gameplay, along with the exploration, along with some of the choices that I've already seen that you can make, knowing from Carrie Patel, again, shout out to the director of Avowed. She does great interviews, but I've watched now some of her last interviews she did before launch. Knowing that there is a plethora of endings based upon your choices made, that is huge for me. Now, I do have to see, there's been mixed opinions on whether or not you can actually be bad in this game. She claims that you could be. The claim is that you can betray your group if you want to. I've got to see that in action, because right now I'm getting some conflicting stories that isn't necessarily the case. Like, you can't go real full evil in this game. And again, part of that was not being able to kill off the NPCs. So I got to see that for myself, because again, I'm the dude who does go evil, does go bad. Outer Worlds, I betrayed the main story within the first, I think it was like literally like the first 30 minutes. You're allowed to do that. Like, you have the opportunity to betray everything. And I did that right away. So I want to see that for myself. But overall, I think this game is going to hit for me like I thought it would. Again, this is not even Obsidian's A team. This is their B team. This is a newer team for Obsidian put together specifically to create Avowed. So I think them coming out the gate with this first showing, Carrie Patel, this is the first game that she has directed, and she took this over after they had ditched the multiplayer aspect and they had started kind of reforming the game. She took over. From what I've seen, the extra time that they got with the delay helped. And it looks like she crushed it as a first-time director, and I can't wait. This was one of my most anticipated games at the end of last year. It became one of my most anticipated games, if not the most anticipated game, this first half of this year. I can't wait till Tuesday. I've held off my FOMO. Tuesday's going to be special when I hop into this. Everything is saying that this is going to be one of the games I go, yeah, this is one of my favorite games of the year. Hands down.
Awesome.
So
I agree. And so once again, I want to frame this by saying I'm a newer RPG guy as well too. I've gotten into that last 2 or 3 years really for me. So the fact that I'm geeked up about it, being very, very, very new to the genre, everything I've seen, I've tried to watch as much gameplay as I could possibly consume, Pong, and everything I've seen is just been the fluidity. Everything's been so surprising. The quality, man, is just especially for a UE5 game. You know how hard that's been to deal with. How hard it's been for devs to get out a decent game on that engine, and the fact that the little bit of time, not a little bit of time, but the extra time that they took to put into this game really showed off from performance standpoint.
Gorgeous.
I saw
the lighting. It looks gorgeous.
Man,
I went back and played Outer Worlds, the first one, a
Yeah.
couple months ago.
Yeah.
As I got back into it, I started hopping back into it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game. It's bright, colorful. That's Obsidian through and through. They've done the same thing for Avowed, but really what I'm seeing from Avowed, again, as this is one of the newer teams they kind of built, Outer Worlds 2 with their A team coming out after seeing what they've done with Avowed, Outer Worlds 2, if it is truly double the size, like they said in their funny, their teaser originally where they kind of teased that everything was going to be just basically double the size. If they pull that off from their A team in Outer Worlds style, oh shit, we're in for a treat with Outer Worlds 2. It's going to be fun, man. So can't wait.
1000%. So I'm going to throw this over to you, Fuzz. Just get your opinion.
Fuzz has played. Fuzz has played it.
I know.
Fuzz is the only one. Again, we're in a totally different timeline right now. Fuzzy has played this before me. Jesus.
But no, like seriously, it's just ultimately Fuzz. Like, this is a huge W for Obsidian, and I don't want to lose that because, like I said before, people look at Obsidian and act like they don't really have the pedigree, talent, skill to be able to do this. All this was is Xbox saying, we're going to put a check behind you and you guys can go do what you want to do and we'll support the ideas because we trust your talent, right? So, and this is the result of that, right? They've been homer after homer, in my opinion, and this is just another example of them nailing it. And for whatever you want, people say it's not Skyrim. Yeah, you're damn right it's not Skyrim, and it doesn't need to be. You know what I mean? You can throw that comparison out of the window. And that's another thing I saw too, as people started to play it, because people really tried to get that Skyrim narrative to stick. They really tried their best to make that a bad thing about Avowed. And Avowed said, fuck that. This is Avowed. We're absolutely not Skyrim, and we're going to lean into that. And we're going to tell you guys we're not, and we're going to make this awesome ass game. So I love the fact that they leaned into that and they were very confident when people said, well, made those comparisons. So what do you just think, you being in the game, you being able to play for some hours, did it exceed your expectations?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll start off with probably the thing that most people don't talk about as much, or they try to make joke content out of, the character creator. there's a wide range of options that I like in the character creator. And if you want to go full into the lore as far as being a godlike and the stuff that can be on your face, which you can hide that, although the NPCs are going to respond to it regardless, kind of thing. But at least if you want your character to look a certain way, you can make them pretty much look any way you really want them to. But I like that there's, I guess, this lore behind some of the markings and whatnot that would be on your face, or growths and stuff like that. But just the character creator itself, better than I expected. I thought there was just going to be like default characters, maybe you change the hair type of thing, and that was about it. But it's a lot more in depth. I mean, you can go with the pre-made ones, but if you really want to make it look like yourself, but with horns or seashells or twigs or something like that mixed in your hair, yeah, go for it. It is an awesome character creator. Maybe not the level of like Dragon's Dogma 2, but it's good enough for me. I'm pretty happy with it and with the character I'm. But as far as the RPG aspects of the game that I love, I'm a looter shooter fan. Yes, it's not really a looter shooter, but the loot is worth playing this game. Like, and you don't have to have a calculator to look at the different stats between the different armor or gloves or boots or whatever you come across, or magic wands and stuff. But there's going to be a fair amount. And I'm only playing it on normal. I'm not trying to go hardcore this go around. I just want to kind of get through a few things and one to see, like what Pong had said, that the exploration is rewarding, and it definitely is. Like the big thing I noticed is that not just the verticality, but if it looks like you can walk there, you can. It's just you got to figure out where you may have to go around to get to it, or maybe there's a secret wall or something you could set on fire to get through there, or crawl under, or whatever. If it looks like you can go there, you can. And it doesn't have the yellow paint, which is awesome, because not that I'm one of those that's like, oh, I hate the yellow paint. It tells you. No, you can tell where you can climb up on the roof of a building, or, climb this mountain over here. Well, not necessarily climb, but at least jump or walk up certain areas, or a path that might bound around to that area. But swimming in water, you could find things that may have been dropped or thrown into the river, kind of deal. There could be things under dead bodies. I do like that the map gives you some highlights, and I think it's because I'm on the normal setting. I'm pretty sure if you put it on the harder setting, maybe some of the edibles or some of the weaponry things that you could pick up, or other novelty items that you either need to collect or need to read or come across for other side quests and such, or litter on the map without it looking like it's overkill, kind of like what Ubisoft map would do. But I do like the fact of exploration. Like, oh, the path says go left, go right. Trust me on it. Or sometimes when you're looking on the edge of a cliff and it looks like, oh man, I could probably die if I jump down here. There's probably going to be an area where you can jump down, and maybe there's a cave there, or maybe there's a different path or different go around or something. And there's usually something there. Now, I do want to warn you, some of those areas are protected by weird creatures or poisonous things or something. Like, the more rewarding the item that is down there, the harder or more crazy the guarding animal or creature might be. So there is that. Now, not everything is guarded. Sometimes you'll find like an abandoned house, and it's an abandoned house. You just go in and you it's not that you're stealing, but it feels like you're stealing in a way, but it's not the true stealing aspect that I know a lot of people would like in the RPG. But it's not your house, and you're opening up all the drawers and everything and finding stuff. So, and there will be things laid around in certain towns that if you pick up the coins or if you pick up the book, nobody's really looking or yelling at you that you stole it. So maybe that takes away some of the excitement aspect of being able to, pull one over on people or avoid getting captured or having a bounty on you or something like that. But I'm going to say about 7 hours in, and I'm taking my time. I'm only in about the third town, I guess you could say, trying to do a lot of the side missions. And I love the fact that choices matter, and you can, I don't know if you can be fully evil, but there does seem to be dialogue, I guess, depending on the companion and depending on which like I guess you could say job or previous skill that you choose. It does look like some that can contradict what your companion would, want to do or would appreciate you saying, kind of thing. So I guess you can be kind of an asshole to some extent. I haven't picked those yet. I'm going
Fuzz,
middle
can I
of
ask
the
you a quick
road.
question? Can I ask you a quick question? Can you travel alone, or do you have to have a companion?
I haven't
don't know,
tried
you don't
traveling
know.
alone. I think you can, but
Can
it's
you?
almost like but it seems like you would have to start off when you meet that companion, because
Okay.
it seems like there's a thing where it's like, oh, I'd rather do this on my own, just stay here or something like that.
Okay.
So it seems like,
Or like an option. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it
Cool.
seems like, and I avoided doing that one because there's one that you'll meet as soon as you get off a boat type of deal.
Yeah.
And I was about to say, screw you, I'm going to go talk to this other chick over here kind of thing. And I was like, nah, he seems like he's going to be an important companion to have. And it makes it worthwhile having them around. And having companions makes some of the fights better, because the thing I learned early, especially when you're exploring and you come across maybe that poisonous creature or something that's hitting a lot harder than what your level should be, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Put that enemy between you and your companion.
Right.
I'm not saying cheese it, but you kind of do,
Yeah,
especially
no,
if they
you
have a
do.
shield, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, the shield is facing you, so you keep your shield up so when he goes to stab you, but your companion is going to be stabbing him in the back, and then when he turns around and say, "Why are you stabbing me in the back?" You stab him in the back, and it winds up being a lot more fun that way, 2 against 1. Now, when it's 5 against just the 2 of you, then you gotta be a little bit more strategic on it. Maybe hide in the grass a bit, take out one that may have been sleeping or one that's not paying attention on the other side of the grass or whatever. But having the companion does have its benefits, and there'll be times when you'll have like multiple people in like your party of where you're traveling, and you can definitely use that to your advantage. Keep in mind what weapons or special abilities they may have, and use that to your advantage. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like you can get encumbered too easily, because I'm picking up everything, and until I get to like a campsite where I put stuff in storage and stuff. But I'm picking up maces, sledgehammers, axes, multiple swords, multiple wands, and it's like, well, I figure if I break these down, I could probably use those materials for upgrades later, which is a good thing to probably do, because it didn't feel like I was getting that much for selling anything. But as far as like breaking stuff down to upgrade your other stuff, it seems like that's at least the route that worked for me. I'm going part warrior with the sword and shield as my primary, and then the magic as a secondary. But I start off with a magic shield, go with my sword and shield, and then I still have access to one of my magic spells that I can cast and stuff like that. So the flip between like 2 loadouts is awesome. Like, that's something I hope a lot of other RPGs kind of pick up on. It's the first time I've seen something like that. I mean, usually it might be a matter of like switching. Oh, I can switch from my magic to this, and it's like, it seems like it takes a bit. Like, what was that game? Hogwarts. It was a little bit different with Hogwarts, because you always had the wand, but there were other things you could do as far as like some of the upgrades later. But the way this has it, where you can kind of switch on the fly, I like that, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable to kind of mix things up. It's like, oh, well, if I set the grass on fire, it might set them on fire, and then I can rush in there and hit them with the shield with like a bull ram kind of thing and knock them down so they're in the fire still. There's just so many options on your way of attack, so many options as far as different items you'll come across, whether it be pistols, wands, melee items, things like that. Different spell books you'll find. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm early in, only about to doing a lot of the side mission stuff. The choices that you make and how you either talk to the person, or if they say, "Oh, can you find my locket?" You could probably choose to keep it. Now, I haven't found one of those type of items that I can equip, but it seems like there will be some that you can equip that will be worth probably keeping instead of giving to the person. So just keep that in mind. I would say before you go back to talk to the person, try and see if you can equip it and see what it does, or see if there's any bonuses to it. But from what I've heard from like with some of Boom's playthrough stuff, I'm looking for one of the shields he found, because he found a shield that heals you during the day and then gives you more energy or more magic ability or more mana for like the nighttime. So it's like a day and night shield or something like that. So I definitely want to see if I can find that. I found was it fireproof boots, which doesn't seem to cause me damage when I run through like campfires or things like that. And it seems to allow me to do more damage to any enemy standing in fire I've set type of deal. I mean, there's just so much stuff, and it's like the theory craft stuff that you'll start to probably do when you have a couple of different armor sets, which at first I was looking at the armor sets and it's like, well, some of them seem to make it so you benefit if you stand still and do damage that way. Cause you'll notice like your stamina's like reduced greatly and your, maybe your magic or your mana is reduced greatly or something along those lines. But then there's other ones that seem to increase that, but then you'll take more damage when you get hit by an enemy. So you got to kind of be, not necessarily be careful, but figure out what play style works best for you when you pick some of those items. And the one thing that is weird that two complaints I have. Complaint one, although it makes sense, would be when you put an item that you use for transmog. Because I love the fact that you can transmog, because some of the stuff that works better for me now, I hate how it looks on the character because it looks like a bathrobe almost. But when I put that armor in my storage, then I can no longer use that transmog of that other armor. I wish they would allow anything that's within your inventory that you haven't broken down, or maybe kind of like what you can do in Diablo. If you could keep that transmog look even after you break it down, that would be nice. And then the only other complaint is while in third person, the interaction seems a little off. But then again, if you look at the little crosshair dot that you would use when targeting stuff and put that towards the item you want to pick up, it'll pop up. But it seems like it's off on how you would angle the camera sometimes. So first person, no problem as far as picking up things, searching things, whatever. But when you're in third person, sometimes things that should be right at your feet that you would normally look at like straight ahead and they would pop up that you could pick up. You'd almost have to like look down at the ground to kind of do. So that was like the only complaint, but you adjust after probably about an hour of doing that on how you approach stuff. But overall, the combat, the exploration, the gear, weaponry, it looks like, although some stuff is going to be material heavy as far as upgrades and things like that, the upgrade system looks fairly understandable. Like I think I'm a level 7 or something right now. But I have some stuff that's like level 10. So it doesn't seem like there's any like gear lock or level gating or anything like that. But it looks like some of the stuff is going to be fairly simple to understand how to upgrade, and the other stuff is going to be very costly to upgrade. But overall, I'm just having fun with it. It's more than what I was expecting. I was expecting a smaller feeling map. It's not that it's as large as like Dragon's Dogma or anything like that, but it does feel a bit larger than what I even anticipated, because they said it wasn't going to be, this, expansive map kind of thing. So not quite on the level of like an Assassin's Creed size map, but a lot more explorable stuff than what you would expect out of like, what was that? Outer Worlds, the original one, even if you were to put all the planet maps and things like that together kind of deal. So definitely feels bigger than what I anticipated, but having fun. I get the FOMO aspect. I was like, you know what? I probably should have just installed Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That was going to be the game I was going to play in between Avowed coming out. And then I never installed it, and then heard some feedback from some people. I'm like, you know what? Let me just get it. It's $22. I'm a big, fan of the art books because I want to installing those on my PC and using them as screensavers sometimes. So I figured, it's not too bad. The Game Pass discount, whatever, and went and did it. So I caved. I'm part of the problem, I know, but it's a ton of fun. You guys are going to be in for a treat come Tuesday.
Can't wait, man.
I'm trying to think if there's any other advice stuff. Other than that, just have fun with it, but like test stuff out. Like different weapons might work better for you, because some of those two-handed weapons are a little too slow for me at the minute, But I think once I get my stamina levels up a little bit better, then it'll be a different ball game. Then it'll be almost like Whirlwind Barbarian kind of stuff, I think. But yeah, it's an awesome game to start, and I'm curious to see how things play out when I get or come across more companions. But pretty cool so far.
So I got a quick question before we wrap the show up. First and foremost, just shout out to everybody. Shout out to Snow, E-Rings, Umbra, like I said, Decado, everybody in chat. You guys have been amazing, especially on this return show back. But I got a quick question for you three gentlemen before we wrap things up here. And it's about Avowed. And I was thinking about this earlier. Now, they did do this with Outer Worlds 1. How do we feel about the roadmap on Avowed? It is a single-player game. It's not a MMO. It's not a live service game, right? What do we think? DLC down the road? How long are they going to? They got Outer Worlds 2 coming out. How long are they going to support Avowed?
I think they said we'll see. So I think it's going to depend on how the game does, right? And whether we'll see like any kind of major content or anything for it. But yeah, I think man, there's so much to play. Looking forward. It's done well on Steam so far.
Yeah.
And I've seen lots of people playing it, a lot of praise. So we'll see. I think that gives it kind of hope, that there could be more content for it down the road, or maybe sequels or whatever.
I would say it's done. I mean, at least from my memory, I feel like it's done better than, at least for this short period of time, than Outer Worlds 2 did. And Outer Worlds 2 ended up getting some DLC, but obviously we're at a different point in time. That was a different, but still, I feel like this would probably, like you said, as long as the numbers look good, it should justify at least something, some kind of DLC down the road. I would love to see it get it. I really would.
And this has all been the early access too, you know? So like once the game's officially out too, you're gonna have just a lot of more players dive in. So we'll see how it does, man. But I think they're probably gonna be looking at it. I hope so.
I hope so. Pong, where you at on that? Pong, you thinking DLC maybe down the road? Anything roadmap for this?
I mean, I think this is like Kerry said, it's gonna be a wait and see. And like I think it's fair because again, they took a CRPG world and turned it into a first third person Western RPG. So I'm assuming they kind of went into this kind of like to see how, and obviously they had an extended period of dev time too because they kind of switched things up. So I'm assuming that internally they probably said, let's see how the reception is and where we go from here. I actually think more likely that they begin talking about a sequel right out the gates versus, for this team, instead of just even DLC. Unless they've got something, obviously. Again, we hear a lot of times from dev teams that a lot of DLC is stuff that, originally was planned and then got scrapped or cut early, and they take that and they rebuild it out into a full DLC. So there certainly could be stuff that they left on the cutting room floor for this game that they could obviously plug in as DLC that they could put together. But I think more likely is they get Outer Worlds 2 out, they see how, this has continued to move, and then start talking about a sequel. Because I think that this opens up the potential for the Pillars universe becoming more known. And, that lore is already massive because of the two CRPGs. So I think that opens up that potential, and then potentially we get another third CRPG in that lore as well, depending on how Avowed does overall. But I think that they're going to continue to patch it. They'll continue to support it that way, and obviously, continue to give bug fixes and all that good stuff. But just my guess, out on a limb, speculation town, sequel before DLC. Greenlit.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That means it did really well. That means they're really happy about it if they greenlight a sequel before DLC.
Because I think it puts Pillars, the lore in the world on the map, which is a boon, because then you can do a CRPG, which has become big again because of Baldur's Gate. So I think it opens up potential within Xbox themselves to have another world that people start to get to know, and things could get bigger. Again, you could take the approach that they did with Outer Worlds, where the Outer Worlds 1 was successful. It wasn't huge. Outer Worlds 1 wasn't massive. It did really well, but it wasn't massive. They did have some great DLC, but now they get Outer Worlds 2 and they're doubling the size. Maybe they just roll right into a sequel if Avowed has done well enough and they learned what they needed to learn from the first one. They just roll into the sequel expand on the size and then make it everything that they could have in this one, and maybe take it to that next level where this is sitting at a low 80.
Yeah.
You know, next time around they come out and they get that 85, 88 score, right? With
Or even 90,
with
hell.
a really great RPG, right? That I think that's definitely what they could be looking at doing. Just a guess. Just a
No,
guess.
good point. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that there's a lot of meat on the bone, even without playing it. I mean, just watching it, I know what I see with my eyes. I don't need to be Gordon Ramsay to know the food tastes good or something tastes bad, right? I know what I see. So, I do think there's a ton of potential.
You know, the wrench is because they just brought on the former, you know, Fallout New Vegas writer back again. Listen,
that's what they're gonna pivot.
I mean, obviously, Avowed could sit for a while, and they could just move. They get done with Outer Worlds 2, but they could make that if they're going Fallout. Okay, if they are going to do a Fallout, it will be pretty much all hands on deck. They're going to go big to do another Fallout, so they could take most of this team and most of the Outer Worlds team and bring them over to Fallout and start working on Fallout if they're going to do the in-between, because they're going to want to get that out in the next 2 to 3 years with the show being as big as it is. So that could be a massive move for that team. Like, that would be huge for Obsidian to do another Fallout now, especially with the popularity. That would be big time. So yeah, we could see Avowed sit on the back burner for a while. Is my thought there too, now that I think about it.
All right. Nothing wrong with that, man. And I think on that note, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up. But man, it was a phenomenal return show. We had a bunch of great guests. So shout out to you guys watching, everybody in chat watching, everybody that's gonna be watching on the replay. You guys are freaking amazing. You guys always kill it. You know, even when we take long breaks and hiatuses, man. But I enjoyed the show today. At this time, it's kind of nice to get off the podcast and the sun's still out. It's a little weird, but it is kind of nice. But once again, shout out to everybody watching live. I hope you guys enjoyed the return show, man. You know, like I said, same time, same place next week. But let me go ahead and round the panel here and let my guys, you know, get their bars off. But first and foremost, Mav, love having you here, brother. Always love having you. You a big supporter of the show, my brother, cousin of the show. We relatives for sure. Like I said, we share a lot of you know, common people in our life as well too that do shows with us. But man, let everybody know where they can find you if they don't already know.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, fun time. Glad to see the shop back again. This was just felt like it always has. PTK here hanging out with you and the guys. So great show. Everybody in the chat, thanks for showing up. And hey, make sure you come back every Sunday. What time is at?
It's
5 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah,
right?
3 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah, and look forward to hopping on in the future sometime. But if you guys want to check out what we got going on, just head over to YouTube, Fun Speculation, Twitter, Fun Speculation, and you can find out when we got shows coming up. Monday will be the next show, FSP at 9 p.m. Eastern time, followed by Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern time with Pong, Soul, and I, PM and the PM, and then Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate Podcast.
Yeah, man, get it, man. Shout out to you, man. Once again, you guys know what to do. Go follow FSP, man. Mav is a general over there. Puts on a phenomenal show. One of the best hosts in the biz at this current point in time. So shout out to you once again, Mav, for always coming through. Every time I shoot out the bat signal, man, you do your best to get here. So I really appreciate that. So you guys go support Mav, man. And then gotta throw this over to my brothers, man. These two gentlemen rocking out with me for years now. Whether I take long breaks, short breaks, they always here supporting and making the show the best to what it can be. So first and foremost, my boy Pong, another great show. Back in the saddle, brother. Feels good this Sunday. I almost said Saturday. I almost fucked up. I almost said Saturday. This Sunday, man. But let everybody know they can find you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great to be back in the chair with you guys again. I've missed you, PTK, obviously, and Fuzzy, and just sitting down, like I said, to end the week. And now we truly end in the week on a Sunday afternoon. It is just getting dark here, so this is fantastic. Great way to wrap up before I start getting ready to, get some shut eye and get ready for Monday. This is the way I'd want to do it. And obviously having Mav here for the first show back, just as comfortable as he said it was. It's just like riding a bike, brother. So, it's great to have you, PTK. You did a fantastic job. No rust at all. It's like we never stopped. Chat, thank you all for showing up and showing out and coming by and saying hi. Again, it is an adjustment for everybody, but appreciate y'all dropping in here, showing the love. And again, because these shows are nothing without all of you. So nothing but love and respect to the chat. that comes out to all of our shows, not just this one. But we're back. We're back, and it looks like we're going to stick with this time slot. So get ready. Sunday nights, Sunday afternoons, depending on where you are, maybe even Monday mornings if for some of you in the rest of the world. But you guys know the drill by now. Pong Soul everywhere. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Obviously, this coming week, I always got to shout out the Double Barrel Gaming, the channel, the Mr. Boomstick, the man. Tuesdays, it's Xbox Factor podcast. He does it 5 days a week, but Tuesdays is special for me as one of the first shows I did along with the Shop podcast. And listen, he does it. So 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, all good things green every Tuesday. Double Barrel Gaming, Boomstick, be there for that. And then, of course, my week starts with Mav, as he said, on Thursday nights, PM in the PM Pong, and Mav in the PM. Two-man show, unless we do start having guests. You might see somebody pop up from time to time over there, but most of the time it's going to be me and Mav catching up 3+ hours on a Thursday night. Join us 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time on the Fun Speculation Network. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's Xbox Ultimate, where the family gets together. You never know how many of us are going to be there, but no matter who it is, we're going to have lots of laughs, but we're going to have lots of great conversation about gaming as well. So join us there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, again on the Fun Speculation Network. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it's myself, it's my brother from another Steel Rain, and we go live on Uncut. That's right, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, living split screen. Split screen is all one word, 3+ hours. Normally it's 4+ hours. Steele said we had a stop yesterday at a certain time, and we still wound up going an extra half hour, 45 minutes. It was nuts. That's what we do on Saturday morning. So we'll take you from your morning to your afternoon to your evening, depending on where you are in the world. But it's always a great time. The chat dictates a lot of what we talk about on Living Split Screen. So join us there every Saturday morning. And then, of course, God willing, back here Sunday night, next week, Sunday afternoon. The Shop Podcast, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time next week. Listen, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. Lots to play. I will be joining the Avowed conversation this week. Can't wait. The screenshots will be starting. I can't wait. Get ready. Buckle up. But whatever you're playing, there's a lot out there. Just play what you love and love what you play. And I'll talk to you all real soon. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, Pong. You guys know what to do. Go follow Pong. All of that stuff is down in the description, man. Shout out to you for coming through. Like I said, Pong, a huge, huge, huge part of the show, brother. Could not do this without you. Love to be back in the driver's seat. Like you said, man, super comfortable. Had a great show, great time, as we usually do. And last but not least, my brother, my other brother, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. We back, baby. We good, man. It feels good to be back in this driver's seat, brother. But let everybody know where they can find you, Fuzz.
Oh yeah, this was awesome. Great return. I greatly appreciate us being back here, and thanks to everybody that showed up with us today to check us out. Always a pleasure having Mav on here as well. Man, this has been a long time coming, and so glad we were able to make this time slot work and everything. But man, look forward to hopefully seeing everybody in the chat here next Sunday, same time, same place. Don't forget, mark it on your calendars. Look forward to seeing you guys in the chat and greatly appreciate it. While you're here, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, once again, we greatly appreciate it. It's, like Pong said, it wouldn't be a show without you guys. So, man, this is an awesome time to be a gamer. Definitely, if you haven't hit the early access, look forward to Tuesday. Avowed is something special. I think everybody's going to have a ton of fun with it. Yeah, explore, and don't cheese the combat, but definitely use your companions to your advantage. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on pretty much all social media. Just do a search for Fuzzy_Belvedere or just Fuzzy Belvedere as one word, and you'll be able to find me. If weather permits and our internets hold up, hopefully we'll be able to do Pixelated Echoes later on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. It's windy where I'm at, and power outages out where 3-bit's at. So we'll just keep an eye on our social media, and we'll keep you posted on that. And then Monday, it'll be Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick. And then later that evening, FSP with Mav. We're going to go over the games coming out that week, and the big one being Avowed. So look forward to that as well. And then, like I said, hope to see you guys here next Sunday, next week. Same time, same place. Have a good weekend, guys.
I appreciate you, Fuzz. Like I said, another integral part of the show. My brother, you know what I mean? Another big reason why this show is as awesome as it is, man. Glad to be back. Like I said, all three of us, along with Mav this week, man. And like you guys, last but not least here, your boy PTK Blam, back in the saddle. Follow me everywhere on X. It's going to be PTK Blam there. It's going to be PTK Blam on Xbox Live as well too, man. I feel so good to be back. You guys don't know how much I missed you all. Like I said, it's going to be a bit of a transition, so it'll take a few weeks, but you guys can help us out quite a bit by sharing this show out, sharing the link out, letting everybody know that there is a new time, new day, things like that. So I greatly appreciate everybody that came through. We'll be back next week, man, and we'll see you guys then, man. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and be safe.